No. Like this will be this wide maybe, and then come in this way, see?
Yeah.
We can make a cardboard one out of that white wood.
Right.
Okay? Okay. I think it's going to be very nice. And here, we'll make this narrow, and then I want to come down. Not that far, but
What are the arms going to look like?
and the arms, that's what I'm wondering. I think on these, because this is so low, I think we'll have arms like this.
You know, as he got older, and especially after he got into his 90s,
Just like this.
I don't know if there was just a sense of urgency that he had, being that he was getting older, that he thought, well, maybe if there's a chance that I could take some time and make a couple new pieces, that maybe it's the time to do it. You know, maybe I don't have too much more time in this world, and so it was towards the end of 2008 that I would say in the fall of that year that he started expressing to us that he was going to maybe do maybe 3 chairs that were new pieces, completely apart from anything that he had done up to that point. And so he was getting frail, and we noticed that he wouldn't come up every day like he used to, that some days he just didn't feel up to coming all the way up the steps to the shop. And so we just felt like, you know, like he was starting to decline.
And it was like 2 pieces I need to do before I die. One of them was the chase, and the other one was a low back rocker. He started making them, and one day I'm coming over, and now Sam's 92 years old at this point. I came over for a visit, and I asked the guys where Sam was. He says he's in the studio. So I'm looking around, I see nobody in the studio, so I call out Sam. Sam, are you in here? And I hear this weak voice coming from the middle of the studio, so I walk to it.
I'm going to start on another one right away,
and Sam is on his back, laying next to the chase rocker, measuring the height of the leg, because he didn't feel that it was quite yet at the right point that it needed to be to make that rocker rock the way it should. But 92 years old, laying down on his back, doing the final measurements on that chair. And the chair turned out beautiful. I just want to get inside of it. This was one of the last pieces that Sam designed, and one of the last pieces on his things to do. And it turned out beautiful.
It was for a petite woman or something, would be just right.
I was in bed and I got up and made a quick sketch of it. Beaver, what the heck are you doing? And I think it's going to be a real nice little chair.
There's something about, even if people don't know how to vocalize, or even if they are aware of it necessarily, consciously, when a maker has kind of control over an object from beginning to end, his hands are touching every line as he's smoothing and working it. There's something about that object that, not to be overly romantic about it, but there's something about that object that I think people are responding to with maybe not being totally aware of it. There's you know, you're working this material very consciously over time, and having control over every line and curve. And there's a bit of an essence to that object. It brings an essence to that object, I think, that people respond to when they see, touch, feel it. I mean, Sam was involved in producing a lot of pieces over and over again, but each one was unique in that he oversaw every detail.
Be back, a good inch at least, that's in the hole. I think that's going to be good. It gives me relaxing work. You want this flat area here lowered down? I think I'd make it down about here.
We're going to meet down by the stained glass door, and then we'll come back and just go over it and worry about it.
Is the fact he had an impeccable sense of proportion. There was nobody like him in that regard. And so when he first started doing furniture, chairs, they were what I call very authentic and very personal, very unusual, and maybe not so functional, but really unusual and interesting visually.
When I looked at like his chairs, the way the curves just kind of flow into each other, it has like a human feel to it, and it fits, like, it looks like it would be comfortable. I wish I could sit in more of those chairs. It's interesting, like, they're so beautiful, you don't want to touch them, but they also look like that's what they're for. Like, they want you to sit in them or to be touched.
So to me, Sam Maloof is, first he was doing things first. He's so copied that you see the work everywhere, but he designed it. He came up with ideas that hadn't been done. To me, what I see in his work is that it's a combination of an organic feeling with incredible craftsmanship and precision and skill to it. Oftentimes when you see the pieces with the natural edge tabletops, and even a finished piece, and the rocker is the obvious example where it has these curves and movement to it. But to me, it's very organic, but a lot of times the organic work isn't precise. But he had a combination of both. He had this flowing organicness to the work where it's beautiful curves and beautiful flow to it, yet executed absolutely perfectly.
I have been completely inspired by Sam. Sometimes I have to worry about this inspiration, or am I copying Sam? And I never wanted to do that. I always tried to move away, but every time I do that, it was not.
See, the rock's pretty balanced.
It didn't work. Sam started with some basic principles, and the logical conclusions of those early decisions are his furniture. And if you start with his design criteria, you wind up with the Maloof. That's why so many of the inspired by or copies by other people never rise to the level of Sam. He's truly unique. So I quit making furniture for 4 years, went in making guitars, and kind of just generally taking a different, trying to get a different philosophy.
See, it isn't high enough really, though. It just to sit on, it gives me very, very good sitting to see what you think. See what you...
Sam invented Sam. I mean, they're beautifully made. I mean, Jesus Christ. They are really, really beautifully made. I've looked at that chair a number of times. I know how he did it, and I've seen him making them. They've got to, you know, that's got to have a lot of talented hours in it. Sanding and joining and filing and scraping, and I haven't got enough time for that. And it's, yeah, he was a good guy.
I'm not worried about this. If the grain was going this way, I'd be worried about it. But I think that'll hold up real nice. She rocks real nice. We've gotten so many orders. Pieces from Rockies, from Europe.
This was in the early 50s. And in the early 50s, furniture was sort of, they called it French provincial, but it really wasn't. It was sort of country, and they stained the wood orange, and they had little ruffly lampshades, and things were kind of busy. And here was this very simple, beautifully proportioned dining room table of walnut with beautiful grain, and the light was shining on it. And I cried. I said, that is the most beautiful piece of furniture I've ever seen. And so I was newly married, and my new husband said, we could call on the maker and see if he'd make us one. So we came to visit Sam and said, we're newly married, we don't have a savings, we don't have a house, but someday we'd love a dining room table that you make. So we started paying him $35 a